Right, that stupid gay bloody black bloody I didn't mean that in a racist way. Generic countdown intro. I did not put that on there.
Why
did you do that?
I didn't.
You did.
No.
You
Maybe it was a bleed.
You set up an intro.
I did on mine, but
yes, and it's gone over to mine.
I didn't do that.
You did.
No, StreamYard did that.
Yes, you set up a default intro.
Yeah, I did
yesterday
it on mine,
when
not
I went
yours.
live, it did it too, and I was like, "Why is it doing this?"
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Oh.
Dolly, I don't want this stupid generic black.
Well, we can remove it. I just.
Well, it just.
Well, blame StreamYard, not me. Yeah, well, I'm always in trouble. I didn't do anything. StreamYard did it. Blame the Indians that bought it. Do not redeem, good sir. It's their fault.
You're telling me. Just a minute. You admitted it a second ago. You said that you put the intro thing.
Oh, yes, because we have different asset templates. So, like, there's one for you and one for me. So it was on mine, but not yours. But now it's on yours.
But you didn't check whether or not it goes over to mine.
Well, it hasn't before. I don't know why it did now. I didn't change anything recently. It's been working.
Anyway, hi everybody.
Settle down.
I hate that intro. If you haven't noticed, I hate that intro. It's very bland and unlike my intro. And as you saw, I played mine anyway. Sorry, everybody, that you got 2 intros and that you just got us.
Technically 3.
Why 3?
You started to play that one, your one, and then I went to the countdown.
Right.
And then you played the original again.
I did.
Yeah.
Yo. Stop it, JMK. The outro I made for you, but I've never even looked at the outro, Mavka. Where is the outro? Oh, the song you made for me.
Oh,
you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Hi, everybody. We need to have a domestic disturbance.
It's a domestic squabble.
Okay, guys. All right. So anyway, Tracy reminded me. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Tracy. Where are you? Tracy reminded me yesterday that we never did this. We never did the mushroom lady sentencing. And silly me, I was just like, I assumed you guys have already seen it. Kind of, came and went. And Tracy's all like, I stopped myself watching it so I could watch it with you. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Right? Darling, did you ever watch it?
No.
No? Okay, cool.
No.
Sweet. All right. Well, we're watching it.
You there?
That was the cat.
Oh. Not your lame internet this time.
No, that was Sarah walking past and causing trouble.
Aww.
Is my internet causing trouble again?
Yeah, but it's okay now.
Right.
No, it's
Zarif,
okay right now.
you need to behave. Okay.
Aw.
Right. Hey, half Irish. Scott says hi, Sarah. Hello, Scott. Hi. Hi. Okay, let's get into it. Hey, Mark and Betty. How are you? Oh, hey, beautiful, wonderful. You're talking about the kid who shot Charlie Kirk. He's so far right extremist, is he? I don't.
No.
I did impromptu live from outdoors yesterday, guys.
Ooh.
If you hadn't seen it, right? I was
Did you catch
in the
any
middle.
soft sits?
No, I was looking for Desi.
Aw.
In fact, I was outside an old jail.
Ooh.
And yeah, I was waiting for my girl to come from out of dance class. She went to a K-pop dance class yesterday.
Wait,
had
she
the
went
best time.
to dance at a jail?
No. I went to a jail to stream whilst I was waiting for her. Right? You need to go watch it and catch up.
Okay.
Right. Anyway, yeah, but anyway, I was out there and I was talking to people who were in chat, not you. And
I
they
was
said
asleep.
that, yeah, okay, you're asleep. And people said they were a little bit kirked out and a little bit of a distraction would be good. And so we were talking about, like, you know, what to stream. And Tracy mentioned that she missed out on the whole mushroom lady sentencing thing because I never ran it, obviously. And so we might as well run it. Let's go. We're going to have a look into Aussie Court, or as much of Aussie Court as they showed, which is the judge reading out his sentencing spiel. So we're going to pop straight over to that. Hello, was you in jail? No, Steve, I wasn't in jail. It's actually an abandoned jail here in Brisbane called Boggo Road. And it's like this old heritage listed jail. It's actually quite beautiful in a creepy way. Cool. Keisu trial is her next trial. No, I'm not doing Keisu. I don't even know what the hell Keisu is. All right, let's go. So here we are.
Mafka's
It's Mafka's
rapper
scene.
thing.
Yeah. All right, so this is the judge, Justice Beale, his name is, and he's super mad. He's super mad because Mushroom Lady, Erin Patterson, has been found guilty of the horrific, brutal, or not brutal, I suppose, murders of 3 people and the attempted murder of 1. And let's hear him talk. So if you need any interpretation because you can't understand his accent, let me know. Let's get into it.
Erin Patterson, after a long trial, during which you gave evidence that the poisoning of your 4 lunch guests on the 29th of July was an accident, the jury found you guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. In other words, the jury necessarily found that you deliberately served poison meals to Gail and Don Patterson and Heather and Ian Wilkinson.
Closed caption.
And that you did so intending to kill them. Only Ian Wilkinson survived. The maximum penalty for murder is life imprisonment, and for attempted murder, 25 years imprisonment. Murder is also a standard sentence offence, and the standard sentence offence for murder is 25 years imprisonment. The prosecution submits, and your counsel concedes, that your offending falls into the worst category of offending for these offences, and that you should receive the maximum penalties for your crimes. I agree, for reasons that I will come to in due course. The prosecution also submits that, having regard to the horrendous nature of your crimes, I should not fix a non-parole period. In other words, the prosecution submits that you should never have the opportunity of being released from prison on parole. Your counsel challenged this submission, relying principally on the harsher than usual conditions of your imprisonment, which both sides agree are likely to continue for the foreseeable future. Whether or not to fix a non-parole period.
I sentence you to
is
10
the main
years hard
dispute
labor
which
in
I
the
have to
cafeteria.
determine. These sentencing reasons consist of 4 parts. First, the circumstances of the offences. Second, your circumstances. Third, relevant sentencing law. And fourth, the actual sentence.
What happened?
Yours is freezing a little bit. So what time are you at? 2:06. Okay.
2 minutes and 6. Stupid Australians, stupid internet.
Where the
Stupid.
prosecution alleges circumstances that aggravate your offending, the prosecution must prove those circumstances beyond reasonable doubt. Where the defence alleges circumstances of mitigation, the defence must
Bye,
prove
Mark and Betty. That's all
circumstances
right.
on the balance of probabilities. Just before I turn to the
Wait,
circumstances of your
Mark. If you want to discuss an Ukrainian girl being murdered, I do have a Alec Baldwin playlist you can check out. Just if that would make you happy.
Mark and Betty, are you upset that we're not
offences.
discussing those things? That's okay. It's just that everybody's discussing those things. So we're doing a bit of a distraction. Okay, so
I note that at your trial, the prosecution
have a good
conceded
day.
that they could not prove motive.
Godspeed.
As is standard, I directed the jury that the prosecution did not have to prove motive, only the elements of the offences, and that, quote, some murders occur for no apparent reason. The motives for such murders may only ever be known to the offenders. Clearly, the jury was satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that you committed the alleged offences. Only you know why you committed them. I will not be speculating about that matter.
Aw.
I will begin my discussion of the circumstances of your offences with the fact that you were familiar with the iNaturalist website from at least May 2022.
How dare
That
you
is a
be
website on
with
which
it?
people can post and view sightings of death cap mushrooms, amongst other things.
Only
On the
mushrooms.
28th of May 22, you accessed the
shrooms.
iNaturalist website and navigated to its worldwide map in relation to sightings of death cap mushrooms. Using that map, you accessed information concerning the sighting of death cap mushrooms in Moorabbin, a suburb of Melbourne. In late 22, a dispute arose between you and your estranged
Can you move
husband,
the
Simon Patterson,
captions up?
regarding child support payments
Please.
for your 2 young children who live with you. In December 22, you referred to that dispute in your communications with a Facebook Messenger group with whom you shared an interest in true crime. You were scathing in your remarks about both Simon and his parents, Don and Gail Patterson. Amongst other things, you
This is so
derided your
irrelevant.
father-in-law's suggestion that you and Simon get together and pray for your children, commenting, quote, this family, I swear to fucking God. You called them, quote, a lost cause. You wondered whether they had, quote, any capacity for self-reflection at all.
That's
You said,
ironic.
quote, fuck 'em. And that you suspected the best thing you could do was, quote, just to forget about all of them and live your life.
Geez, this sounds like stuff I tell myself about Hella.
You accused Simon of, quote, gaslighting you,
Fuck up.
and Don and Gail of using, quote, weasel words. You called Simon, quote, a deadbeat, and wondered why Gail was not, quote, horrified by his stance regarding child support. According to your testimony at trial, and to a lesser extent Simon's testimony, the dispute over child support had resolved by early 23. On the 18th of April 23, one Christine McKenzie, a former poison specialist, was visiting her daughter in Lock, which is a small town about a 25-minute drive northwest of Leongatha, where you lived. Miss McKenzie observed death cap mushrooms in Lock Reserve and posted details of her observations, including photographs, on the iNaturalist's website the same day. Ms McKenzie disposed of all the death cap mushrooms that she could find because of the danger she thought they posed,
Oh, she
especially
did
to young
dispose of them?
children. On the morning of the
I'm
28th of
I'm
April,
controlling it. Didn't we give her a lot of shit, or was that someone else that posted the location of the death cap mushrooms? But we thought they just left them there.
Okay, there were two. So there was Funky Tom, right?
Okay.
And then there was this other woman, right? And
Okay.
the other woman, she tried to get rid of them, right?
Okay.
So yeah, there were two postings of the death cap mushrooms on Only Mushrooms or
Okay.
iNaturalist. Funky Tom, which is Tom May, who's also a mycologist, and now I know what a mycologist is. It's a mushroom
Shroom guy.
specialist, mushroom guy, right? He found death cap mushrooms out at Loch, which is near Outram. He put them onto iNaturalist, and he didn't try and get rid of them. He just sent people exactly to the spot. Hey, you want to poison people? Here you go. There's where they are. Yeah, we gave shit to Tom. Yeah,
Wait, are you saying Funky Tom or Funky Tom?
Funky Tom, but he could have been Funky Tom.
Okay.
His name on the iNaturalist website, like his username, was Funky Tom.
Gotcha.
23, your mobile phone, which was never recovered by investigators, connected to certain cell towers consistent with a possible visit by you to the Loch Reserve. That afternoon, you purchased a food dehydrator in Leongatha.
You overpaid.
Between the 28th of April and the 4th of May 23, you photographed forage mushrooms on the trays of your dehydrator. The images were found by investigators on a Samsung tablet later seized from your home. Dr. Tom May, a world-renowned expert in fungi, gave evidence at your trial that those images were, quote, consistent with death cap mushrooms to a high degree of confidence. On the 21st of May 23, Dr. May observed death cap mushrooms in Nielsen Street, Outram. Outram is a small town about a 23-minute drive southwest of Leongatha. Later that day, Dr. May posted details of his observations, including photographs, on the iNaturalist website. On the morning of the 22nd of May 23, your phone connected to certain...
So that's why we gave him shit, right? Because here he is weighing in as a expert in this trial, right? And he is there he's opining on the exhibits saying, oh yes, they are death cap mushrooms that she put on the dehydrator to a high degree of scientific certainty, right? But he's also saying, oh yeah, and I found some out there and I posted them onto Only Mushrooms, right? iNaturalist website. And I gave people like a map, like a geotagged map of how to go find them so you can go poison your loved ones.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hello, are you like an accomplice to this or are you an expert witness in the trial? Which are you?
It was a little sus.
It was like, are you pleased with yourself, Funky Tom? Dr. May? Anyway, do go on.
Cell towers, consistent with a possible visit by you to Loch Reserve. Later that morning, your phone connected to certain cell towers, consistent with a possible visit by you to Nielsen Street, Outram.
And this.
On the 24th of June 23, you hosted a lunch at your Leongatha home, attended by Don and Gail and your children. You had invited Simon to that lunch, but he declined, saying in a text message, quote, "Hi, Erin.
Fuck this.
Thank you for your kind lunch invite, together with Mum and Dad. I'm sorry, I'll decline, as I feel too uncomfortable about it."
I think you might try to murder me.
Between the 28th of June and the 7th of July 23, there were a series of messages between you and Gail in which you falsely represented that you had undergone a needle biopsy for a lump in your arm. And
what he said was,
I just got a feeling.
Okay, so FYI, right, if you didn't follow this part of it, and this was outside this case, it never got presented to the jury, so it was not part of their consideration at all. years prior, Simon, the ex-husband, was allegedly attempted murder on him by Erin. There were 3 instances of allegedly poisoning him. And I mean, to a point where he was put into a coma for, I think, 13 days. He lost a third of his bowel, right?
Mm.
So he
Shitty.
suspected that she had been attempting to murder him several times prior to all of this occurring. But in his mind, he was the target, right? He thought that no one else was in danger from her. But then when his parents and in-laws or uncle and auntie were found to be critical in hospital, he was like, oh shit, maybe I should have told some people about this, right?
Yeah.
I think he ain't the brightest.
No, not at
No.
all.
Yeah. Hey, Classic. How's it
An
going?
MRI. In response to a message from Gail as to how you got on with your medical tests, you messaged her on the 7th of July 23 that, quote, there's a bit to digest with everything that's come out of it all. I might
Digest.
talk more about it.
My chest, buddy. Something to chew on. Oh, come on.
You both when I see you in person. On the 16th of July 23, you attended the Sunday service at the Corumburra Baptist Church,
Really?
where Ian Wilkinson was and is the pastor. After the service, you invited Gail and Don Patterson and Heather and Ian Wilkinson to lunch at your home at Gibson Street, Leongatha, on the 29th of July 23. Both the Pattersons and the Wilkinsons were surprised by the invitation, as the Wilkinsons had never previously been invited to a meal at your home.
In for a
You
penny,
also
in for a
invited
pound.
Simon, telling him that you had invited his parents and his aunt and uncle. You told him you had some important medical news which you wanted to discuss at the lunch and that you did not want the children to be present. Simon initially accepted your invitation and informed his parents that the purpose of the lunch was to discuss your medical issues and how to inform the children.
Well, hang on. He said yes at first.
On the evening of the 28th of July,
Yeah.
23, Simon...
Yeah, I believe he did say yes and then canceled the day before, I think it was.
That's right. I know the day before he said that he didn't feel comfortable, but
Yeah.
so at
I think
first he said
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So I think so.
Well, that's what he just said.
Yeah.
So he was cool to go and have her cook lunch for him for a while. And then his
He
parents
was-
had gone and said yes. What he's saying is he encouraged his parents to go. And then he pulled out.
were surprised by the invitation, as the Wilkinsons had never previously been invited to a meal at your home. You also invited Simon, telling him that you had invited his parents and his aunt and uncle. You told him you had some important medical news.
It sounds like she invited his aunt and uncle and parents and then told him. And then asked him to come over as well.
Mm,
So he probably figured
guess.
if his aunt and parents were going to be there, he wouldn't be poisoned. But he was probably still creeped out by the whole idea, assumed
and then
naively
he went,
she wouldn't take them out. And then was like, well, I don't trust your cooking, woman. And skedaddled.
yeah, right. Hey, Patty B. This was the only thing televised, and it's honestly, it's the first time something like this in a criminal trial has been televised in Australia since I think Lindy Chamberlain, like in the 80s, right? And I mean televised to a point where you're allowed to broadcast it, like rebroadcast it, and the media intervened and put in a a motion for this to occur, and Justice Beale said, okay, just the sentencing part. It's unheard of.
Which you wanted to discuss at the lunch, and that you did not want the children to be present. Simon initially accepted your invitation and informed his parents that the purpose of the lunch was to discuss your medical issues and how to inform the children.
Oh, their medical
On
issues.
the evening of the 28th of July 23, Simon and you exchanged messages. Simon's read, quote, "Sorry, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to the lunch with you, Mum, Dad, Heather and Ian tomorrow. But I am happy to talk about your health and implications of that at another time if you'd like to discuss on the phone. Just let me know."
Aw.
You replied 5 minutes later, quote, "That's really disappointing. I've spent many hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of the issues I'm facing, and spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons
B5
because
fillet.
I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some
Wow.
time.
If you know.
It's important to me that you're all there tomorrow
B5
and that I can
fillet.
have the conversations that I need to have. I hope you'll change your mind. Your parents and Heather and Ian are coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there." On Saturday, the 29th of July 23, you served your 4 lunch guests individual beef Wellingtons, which were deliberately poisoned with
I thought he was going to
death
say
trap mushrooms.
delicious.
They were
You gave
delicious. Well,
evidence
they were
at your
delicious.
trial that had Simon attended the lunch, you would also have served him a beef Wellington.
But he
I accept
didn't.
the evidence of Ian Wilkinson that you
What's that got to do with anything? He said, had Simon attended the lunch, he also would have been poisoned. Well, he didn't attend the lunch, so that's irrelevant,
Yeah.
dude.
served your guests their meals on 4 grey plates, while your individual beef Wellington was on a smaller orangey tan coloured plate, a fact that Heather also commented on to Ian and Simon the next day. I find that you did this to ensure that you did not mistakenly consume a poisoned meal.
Because that'd be
I
dangerous.
also accept the evidence
Yeah.
of Ian Wilkinson that at the conclusion of the meal, you falsely told your guests that you had been diagnosed with cancer and sought their advice as to whether and how you should break the news to your children that you had a life-threatening illness. Not long after this conversation started, your son and his friend, who had gone to a movie, returned home. The conversation about cancer ceased, but not before all your lunch guests, at Ian's suggestion, prayed for your health. Soon after, they left. Around midnight to 1 a.m. on Sunday the 30th of July 23, all of your lunch guests fell seriously ill, suffering repeated vomiting and diarrhoea. On Sunday morning, Gail and Don informed Simon of their conditions and called an ambulance, which took them to nearby Corumburra Hospital. Simon attended the Wilkinsons' home to find that Heather and Ian were similarly unwell. He took them first to Corumburra Hospital, but was redirected to Leongatha Hospital because of limited resources. By way of contrast, you made a round trip of approximately 2 hours on Sunday afternoon to take your son to a flying lesson at Tyab.
But
By the
But-
Sunday evening, Don
pause.
and Gail had been transferred to Dandenong Hospital. On the morning of Monday, the 31st of July, 23, Ian and Heather were also transferred to Dandenong Hospital.
don't
Yes.
forget, on that 2-hour round trip, she had to stop and poo in a bag.
Oh, yes.
He missed that bit, right? She had diarrhea and she had to stop and poo on the side of the road. And she had to use a doggy bag. So she
Rough.
wasn't that well. Like she
No.
did have a bit of an upset tummy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, gross. I know, classic. And
And I
yet,
think
beef Wellington doesn't have mushrooms. This particular recipe, which she got from quite a well-known cookbook here called Recipe Tin Eat, it has this duxelle. I don't know if that's how you say it, mushroom sort of coating thing between the pastry and the beef. Yeah.
So it's
it's a
got a
punishment in itself.
bunch.
You've been dying on the funny ass names, yeah.
By the Sunday evening, Don and Gail had been transferred to Dandenong Hospital. On the morning of Monday, the 31st of July, 23, Ian and Heather were also transferred to Dandenong Hospital. Later that day, Gail and Don were transferred to the Austin Hospital, as were Heather and Ian on Tuesday, the 1st of August, 23. All of them were experiencing advanced multiple organ failure. Having learned from Simon on the Sunday that your parents-in-law had been hospitalised, you attended Leongatha Hospital on the Monday, complaining of diarrhoea. You did not stay long. Shortly after a doctor indicated to you that death cap mushroom poisoning was suspected, you left, despite warnings by another doctor and nurse that your life was in danger. You returned over an hour and a half later. When you returned, you showed reluctance to receive treatment for suspected death cap mushroom poisoning and to organise a medical assessment for your children who were at school. Medical staff were urging you to have the children assessed because you claimed, falsely, that on the Sunday night you fed them the leftovers of the beef Wellingtons with the pastry and mushrooms scraped off. Eventually, you arranged with Simon to collect the children and bring them to hospital. On the Monday morning, police recovered beef Wellington remains from a bin outside your home, which were later found to contain death cap mushroom toxins. On the Monday afternoon, you were transferred to Monash Medical Centre in Clayton. Simon brought the children there. You and the children were kept in hospital overnight for observation. At both Leongatha Hospital and Monash Medical Centre, you were asked by various people, including doctors and representatives of the Health Department and the Child Protection Service, where you would source the mushrooms for the beef Wellingtons. You said you would purchase some fresh mushrooms at Woolworths and some dried mushrooms from an Asian grocery. You were vague about the location of the Asian grocery, claiming you had purchased the dried mushrooms several months before and that the shop could have been in one of a number of suburbs that fall within the boundaries of the city of Monash. You denied having foraged for mushrooms, a lie repeated in your recorded police interview on the 5th of August 23. At your trial, you maintained the story about having sourced some of the mushrooms from an Asian grocery, but testified that in May and June of 23, you had foraged for edible mushrooms in various places, including the Corumburra Botanical Gardens. You testified that you had dehydrated these mushrooms and put them in a container which contained the dried mushrooms from the Asian grocery, and that you used the dried mushrooms in that container along with the fresh mushrooms from Woolworths in the beef Wellingtons. You testified that in this way, death cap mushrooms must have accidentally found their way into the meals served to your lunch guests. The jury rejected this elaborate explanation. They found that you deliberately poisoned the meals of your lunch guests. I am satisfied that your vague story about the Asian grocery was a lie. When you realised that the lie would not work because death cap mushrooms cannot be cultivated commercially and there were no other reports of people falling ill from mushrooms purchased at Asian groceries, you changed tack. You concocted the story you told the jury about foraged mushrooms ending up in the container with the Asian grocery mushrooms and then accidentally ending up in the beef Wellingtons. On the afternoon of Tuesday, the 1st of August 23, you and the children were discharged from Monash Hospital. On the morning of the 2nd of August 23, you disposed of your dehydrator at a local tip, the Coonawarra transfer station. On the 4th of August 23, investigators recovered your dehydrator from the tip. Forensic examination revealed that the dehydrator contained traces of death cap mushrooms. That same day, 4th of August 23, Heather Wilkinson, aged 66, and Gail Patterson, aged 70, died from death cap mushroom poisoning. And Don Patterson, who was desperately ill, was given a liver transplant. On the 5th of August 23, the police executed a search warrant at your home. You handed over a dummy phone. It was not the phone that you had been using throughout most of 23. The phone which on the 28th of April 23 had connected to certain cell towers, indicating a possible visit to Locke.
So she had a second phone that she get. We need your real phone, ma'am, or your main phone, ma'am. And she gave him just, okay.
It's time for Nancy Grace. It was a burner phone.
Sorry, a burner phone.
Burner phone, not
I cleaned my
dummy
garage today,
phone or
and I found a burner phone.
A burner phone. Burner
I must
phone.
be guilty.
Guilty.
How dare she?
Guilty. And she wiped it too.
Yeah.
And which on the 22nd of May 23 had connected to certain cell towers, indicating possible visits to Locke and Outram. In your recorded interview following the search, you denied having foraged for mushrooms and denied owning a dehydrator.
Hey, UCC.
Late on the 5th of August 23, Don Patterson, aged 70, died from death cap mushroom poisoning. Ian Wilkinson very nearly died, but gradually his condition improved. On the 21st of August 23, he was discharged from the intensive care unit to a ward at the Austin Hospital. On the 11th of September 23, he was moved to the Heidelberg Repatriation Hospital. On the 21st of September 23, he was discharged home. He has not fully recovered. He has reduced kidney function, ongoing respiratory issues, and reduced energy.
And
On
now
the 2nd of November
vegetarian.
23, the police executed another search warrant at your home, seizing more electrical devices. You were arrested and charged. You have been in custody ever since. Let me now summarise the aggravating circumstances of your offending. Your offending, which resulted in the death of 3 people and near death of another, involved substantial premeditation. I am satisfied that by the 16th of July 23, when you unusually invited Simon, his parents and his aunt and uncle to a lunch without the children to discuss your non-existent medical issues, you did so with the intention of killing them all. The dehydrator, which you purchased in late April 23, enabled you to preserve death cap mushrooms, which you put into the individual beef Wellingtons served to your guests. Whether those death cap mushrooms came from Locke on the 28th of April 23, or from Locke or Outram on the 22nd of May 23, or from another location in May or June of 23, as you suggested in your testimony, is in my view of no great moment. After learning from Simon on Sunday the 30th of July 23 that some or all of your lunch guests had been hospitalised, you showed no pity for your victims. Instead of informing those treating the Pattersons and Wilkinsons that you had used foraged mushrooms, which you could have done without having to admit that you had deliberately poisoned their meals, you repeatedly denied foraging, insisting that the mushrooms for the beef Wellingtons were sourced solely from Woolworths and an Asian grocery. We will never know whether revealing the use of foraged mushrooms would have made a difference. But the administration of the drug psilocybin, which is a specific antidote for death cap mushroom poisoning, was not commenced on the 30th of July 23 because at that stage, the evidence regarding the type of toxin was inconclusive. Similarly, the administration of NAC to preserve the victims' livers from toxins was not commenced until almost midnight on the 30th of July 23 for Don Patterson and on the 31st of July 23 for the others. The prosecution submitted that I should infer from your pitiless behaviour that your intention to kill was ongoing and that this constitutes an additional aggravating circumstance. I accept that submission. As the Wilkinsons' daughter, Ruth Dubois, remarked in her victim impact statement, you, quote, followed through on your lethal plan. Your lunch guests each suffered severe gastrointestinal illness on the Sunday and Monday prior to being sedated and mechanically ventilated. Their suffering was protracted. And Ian Wilkins suffers ongoing health issues. This aggravates your offending. The prosecution submitted that you must have anticipated that your victims would suffer in the way they did. I am satisfied of that beyond reasonable doubt. It is implausible that you would have selected death cap mushrooms without ascertaining how they would work upon your victims.
No, that's
Further,
implausible.
the devastating impact of your crimes is not limited to your direct victims. Your crimes have harmed a great many people. I will expand on this aggravation.
You probably just assume it'll kill them. You don't really think about what'll happen or how they'll die.
But how would okay. My thought was that she didn't know that they were death cap mushrooms when she picked them. She knew she was picking wild mushrooms, but she didn't know that was what they were when she picked them.
The jury convicted her, though, of murder, of intentional murder. So if she intentionally did it, then that's his line of thinking.
But we had Madka. There was no evidence that she searched death caps. None. And I talked to Ping about this, and he said that there was nothing actually presented that she searched it, like to the jury. Hey, Christine. Like she didn't actually go. Amophilus, whatever it was, or
Hmm.
death caps, or anything like that. If she did, then they would have said that loud and clear. Why was
Hence,
she
when I turned to the
dehydrating them if the use was for the Wellington, or did she routinely dehydrate mushrooms for long storage? Well, that's the other thing, right? So there is evidence of her dehydrating other mushrooms, right? So the defense had photos on her phone of her having other mushrooms that were being dehydrated in that dehydrator, right? So she was foraging for mushrooms, she was picking them, she was putting them in the dehydrator, they were coming out of the dehydrator, and she was putting them into this storage container, right? And the story is that she, on the day of the making of the beef Wellington, got a bunch of them out of the storage container because the ones that she'd used from the dried mushroom jar that had the Asian grocers ones and the stuff that she got from Woolworths, the duxelle that she was making wasn't tasty enough. So then she decided to get some from these dehydrated mushrooms that she had from a few months ago. And if you believe her, then she had been foraging and she just didn't know what she had found, right? Okay, classic. I don't know the area very well. So okay, fair enough. I thought it was Leongatha because someone had mentioned the hotel situation there.
Should I
Yeah,
continue?
but yeah, you can go ahead.
Impact statements. In addition to denying the use of foraged mushrooms, you engaged in an elaborate cover-up of your guilt. I find that you disposed of the 4 grey plates on which you served the poisoned beef Wellingtons. You falsely made out that you had fed your children leftover beef Wellingtons with the pastry and mushrooms scraped off. You feigned illness. You disposed of the dehydrator soon after you were released from hospital. You maintained the vague story about sourcing dried mushrooms at an Asian grocery and had the gall to tell police in your recorded police interview that you had been very, very helpful to the health department in its investigation of the incident. You disposed of your phone and provided police with a dummy phone. You lied to the police in your recorded police interview about various matters. Finally, and most importantly, your offending involved an enormous betrayal of trust. Your victims were all your relatives by marriage. More than that, they had all been good to you and your children over many years, as you acknowledged in your testimony. Not only did you cut short 3 lives and cause lasting damage to Ian Wilkinson's health, thereby devastating the extended Patterson and Wilkinson families, you inflicted untold suffering on your own children, whom you robbed of their beloved grandparents. The victim impact statements reveal the immense and ongoing anguish suffered by your many victims, direct and indirect. No summary could do justice to the individual and collective power of those statements. It is not my intention here to summarise or refer to every statement, but rather to highlight some key aspects. 4 generations of the extended Patterson and Wilkinson families have been traumatised by your crimes, not to mention their friends. Don's mother, Martha Patterson, who is aged 100, made a victim impact statement. In it, she prayed for God's healing for her family. Gail and Heather's father, now deceased, also reached his 100th birthday in 2024, but tragically, only one of his 3 daughters, Lynn Young, whose statement was read to the court, was alive to mark that milestone with him. And there are many references in the statements to the trauma experienced by the Patterson and Wilkinson grandchildren. Many of your adult victims struggled not only with the loss of their loved ones and the terrible way they died, but with the distress, even guilt, at their own seeming inability to ease the suffering of those close to them. They keenly feel their limitations, and in particular, the impossibility of shielding the youngest from the incessant discussion of the case in the media, online, in public spaces, even in the schoolyard. Many also struggle to cope with work and studies, and many have experienced additional financial burdens. There is, of course, great anger at the callousness of your actions. To take just one example, Ian Wilkinson's sister, Dorothy Dicker, questions, quote, how anyone could sit there and watch those 4 kind and caring people eat that meal. Your failure to exhibit any remorse pours salt into all the victims' wounds.
Salt's
The
get it.
children of your direct victims speak of the distress of watching their parents suffer in hospital. For example, Don and Gail's son Matthew remarks, quote, "Watching my parents suffer in hospital from severe poisoning caused shock, grief and lasting trauma." Ian and Heather's son David remembers his mother being, quote, "desperate for water," which she was not allowed by medical staff, and
Why?
saying her, quote, "insides were burning." David also mentions his father's tortured experience, quote, "black lips, gaunt face, pained and serious expression." At your plea hearing, Ian Wilkinson memorably read his victim impact statement to the court. Amongst other things, he humbly expressed his great admiration
confused
and
you,
love
man.
for his wife, Heather, and his concern for others, even you. He offered you forgiveness for what you did to him. Quote, "In regards to the many harms done to me, I make an offer of forgiveness to Erin. I say harms done to me advisedly. I have no power or responsibility to forgive harms done to others. However, I encourage Erin to receive my offer of forgiveness for those harms done to me with full confession and repentance. I bear her no ill will." That offer of forgiveness presents you with an opportunity.
28 minutes.
You would do well to embrace it in the manner he suggests. In commenting on the unprecedented coverage of your case, Ian Wilkinson also made this point, quote, "It's one of the distressing shortcomings
Look, at least he's not wearing one of those stupid wigs.
Very true.
Yeah.
I'll let
hang
you
on.
run yours. 28-20.
Thank you. 28-20, hey?
society that so much attention is showered on those who do evil and so little on those who do good.
Hang on, you had it split up a little bit.
Your lunch guests undoubtedly belong to that company of people among us who do good. The victim impact statements make it clear that each one of them, over many years, gave of themselves generously and made lasting contributions to many, many lives, and in Ian's case, continues to make. All of them, inspired by their Christian faith, were deeply invested not only in their families but in their wider communities, as the statements from members of the Currumbara Baptist Church attest. A word that is used again and again in the statements to describe your crimes is, quote, senseless. But what also surfaces in the statements is hope and gratitude for the care shown by others. Don and Gail's daughter, Anna Terrington, writes, quote, "We have to say goodbye for now to Mum and Dad and Heather." Don's brother, Colin, writes, quote, "As Christians, they were people of hope, and sharing that hope, my loss is not one marked by despair." Ruth Dubois expresses her great appreciation for the efforts made and compassion shown by the medical teams. Simon Patterson gives thanks, quote, "for the incredibly strong, gentle, patient and caring support from friends, family, schools, our own church congregation, the wider church, colleagues, work clients, neighbours, police, government officers and our professional counsellors. We have experienced love in a special way since..."
I believe Simon wasn't actually there that day. Maybe he feels a bit like crappy because, you know, he didn't tell them that she'd been going around poisoning people or him
Yeah.
for years.
Bit awkward.
Awkward!
I will conclude my account of key aspects of the victim impact statements with what Don and Gail's son Matthew had to say about your betrayal of trust. Quote, "Erin was embraced as part of the Patterson family. She was welcomed and treated with genuine love and respect in a way she did not appear to experience from her own family. Her actions represent a profound and devastating betrayal of the trust and love extended to her. Having regard to the aggravating circumstances of your offending and the victim impact statements, I have no hesitation in finding that your offending falls into the worst category for the offences of murder and attempted murder. As the case law makes clear, the fact that it is possible to imagine even worse instances of such offences does not refute that categorisation. The gravity of your offending warrants the imposition of the maximum penalties for your crimes. I turn then to your circumstances. The information I was provided about your personal history was minimal. Your counsel simply relied on the personal history you provided in your trial testimony. There were no psychiatric or psychological reports provided, no references from character witnesses.
What?
No doubt that approach to
with
your
her counsel?
plea hearing was based on your instruction.
Why was there no psychiatric or psychological reports given? This is bullshit. She paid fucking $1 million plus for her defense, right? No character testimony, nothing. What the actual fuck? Like, there should have been testimony from a psychiatrist to talk about the fact that she had an eating disorder, for one thing, right? Something should have backed up the fact that she said that she vomited up that lunch. Right? That would have helped her. Something, anything, right? It's called mitigation. And he did nothing. He fucking did nothing. He threw her under the bus.
But it means the account of your personal history that I am about to give is limited. You were born in Adelaide on the 30th of September 1974, making you 48 years old at the time of your offence.
Because they might say she's crazy. No, expert witnesses say what you want them to fucking say. You've been watching trials long enough to know that.
And 50 now. Your maiden name was Scudder. In 1977, your family relocated to Melbourne, residing in Hampton. In 2004, you and Simon Patterson met whilst you were both employed at Monash City Council. Simon told the jury that he was working there as a civil engineer and you were the RSPCA's representative on the council. By 2005, you and Simon were romantically involved. In 2006, your grandmother died, leaving you a substantial inheritance. Monies from her estate were distributed between 2007 and 2015. During those years, you would be generous with your money to Simon's siblings, providing large, no-interest loans to them and their spouses so that they could purchase their own homes. On the 2nd of June,
she can kill their
2007,
parents.
you and Simon married. You told the jury that your parents did not attend the wedding. They were holidaying in Russia. Soon after your marriage, you and Simon travelled around Australia and overseas for a few months before settling in Perth. Simon got a job working for an inner-city shire council. In 2009, when you were 34, your son was born. In April 2009, you and Simon set off with the baby to explore the top end of Australia. You reached Townsville in November 2009, at which point you parted company. You flew back to Perth. Simon drove back with the baby.
She went on a walkabout?
You rented a cottage for you and the baby. Simon rented an on-site caravan close by. This was the first of many comparatively short-term separations. You reunited by the end of January 2010. In 2011, your father died. In that year, you also opened a second-hand bookshop in Pemberton, Western Australia. In 2013, when you were pregnant, you and Simon returned to Victoria with your son to live closer to Simon's family. In 2014, your daughter was born. In 2015, you and Simon separated permanently. In 2019, your mother died, leaving you an inheritance. In June 22, you and your children moved into a newly constructed home at 84 Gibson Street, Leongatha, the home at which you served the fatal lunch on the 29th of July 23. You have no relevant criminal history. You maintain your innocence. In other words, there is no evidence of remorse. I turn now to the conditions of your imprisonment. As mentioned, you have been in custody since the 2nd of November 23. There were 2 affidavits tendered relating to your conditions of imprisonment. The first was sworn by a solicitor who acts for you and was based largely on your instructions. The second affidavit was sworn by Jennifer Hosking, Assistant Commissioner, Sentence Management Division at Corrections Victoria, who also testified at your plea hearing. Ms Hosking's evidence included confirmation of the following matters. You have a, quote, maximum security rating and, quote, major offender status. Because of the nature of your crimes and your notoriety, you have been assessed as being at significant risk from other prisoners. You have not been assessed as posing a risk to other prisoners.
Really?
You have spent approximately 16 months of your 22 months at Dame Phyllis Frost Centre in a management unit called the Gordon Unit, and the rest of the time in a protection unit called the Murray Unit. A management unit is more restrictive than a protection unit. You have been in the Gordon Unit continuously for the last 15 months. The Gordon Unit has about 20 cells. You are not permitted to mix with the other women in the Gordon Unit. You have spent at least 22 hours in your cell every day that you have been in the Gordon unit. There have been 16 days since November 24 where, because of lockdowns, you have been confined to your cell for the entire 24 hours per day. The maximum period that a prisoner in the Gordon unit could have out of their cell on any given day is 4 hours, but, quote, that wouldn't happen very often. Your meals and medicine are currently delivered through a flap in your cell door. There is a small concrete yard, approximately 2 metres by 1.5 metres, which adjoins your cell, which, with permission, you may access for fresh air. If prisoners are using the larger exercise yard, which abuts your exercise yard, you may not use your small yard. During your time in the Gordon unit, you have barely had any contact with other individuals. Permission is required for you to communicate with any other prisoner, which, according to your counsel, is complicated by the fact that you are not informed of the identities of the other prisoners in the Gordon unit. You currently have approval to communicate with one other prisoner in the Gordon unit through a wire mesh when the two of you are permitted to use your respective adjoining exercise yards. That other prisoner is undergoing a lengthy sentence for terrorism offences and has attacked other prisoners. You did not ask to communicate with that person and have not communicated with her. The suggestion that you should communicate with her was made by a corrections officer. There is an intercom in your cell which, if permission is granted, you may use to communicate with one other prisoner in the unit at a time, but you have not done so. In order to attend any other part of the prison, for example, the visitors' centre or the library, you are driven there escorted by 2 corrections officers. While, theoretically, prisoners in the Gordon unit are able to access the prison library twice per week for 20 minutes at a time, you have not been able to do so because of staff shortages and a rule that you may not access the library if another is doing so. Consequently, you have only been able to access the library a handful of times during your time in the Gordon unit. United Nations guidelines, known as the Bangkok Rules, provide that a prisoner should not be in separation for more than 15 days at a time, but you have now been in separation continuously for 15 months. There are 2 prisoners in the Gordon unit who have been there in excess of 3 years. And whilst the primary principle in the placement of prisoners is to manage and place them in the least restrictive environment necessary to ensure the safety and security of the individual prisoner and other prisoners, the least restrictive environment can be very restrictive. As for your future conditions of imprisonment, whilst your placement in the Gordon unit is reviewed monthly, Ms Hosking was unable to say whether you would ever be moved from the Gordon unit. I infer that given the unprecedented media coverage of your case and the books, documentaries and TV series about you, which are all in the pipeline, you are likely to remain a notorious prisoner for many years to come, and as such remain at significant risk from other prisoners.
What?
I turn then to a number of relevant sentences.
I don't understand why being like notorious makes you a risk to other prisoners. Someone explain. Like, why does that make you a risk to other prisoners? It's not your fault that people are making movies and shit about you. She's effectively being held in solitary, JMK. So that he's saying that this Gordon unit is basically it's for like bad offenders and people who are like a risk to other prisoners, and one of the risks to other prisoners is being well known, like being notorious, right? And I don't really understand why being well known makes you a risk. Like, help me out with that. They can claim you're at risk from others, but not to them. Hella from other prisoners. Right, so this is for her own safety. I see. Great, fantastic. Erin needs a notorious song now. Okay, of course, everything's for their own safety.
Principles and rules. Section 5 of the Sentencing Act 1991 declares that the only purposes for which sentences may be imposed are just punishment, specific and general deterrence, rehabilitation, denunciation, and protection of the community. I have had regard to all of these sentencing purposes in formulating my sentences, but rehabilitation has taken a backseat because of the gravity of your offending. Other provisions of the Sentencing Act that are of particular relevance to your case are as follows. Under section 6A to 6F, you fall to be sentenced as a serious violent offender in respect of the 3 murders, meaning that the protection of the community is the principal purpose for which the sentences on those counts must be imposed. Under section 6F, your status as a serious violent offender must be entered in the court records. Section 11(1) provides relevantly that if a court sentences an offender to be imprisonment for the term of her natural life, the court must, as part of the sentence, fix a period during which the offender is not eligible to be released on parole, unless it considers that the nature of the offence makes the fixing of such a period inappropriate. Section
Got to agree, Matty.
4A provides that where an offender is sentenced to life imprisonment, the sentencer must fix a non-parole period of at least 30 years, unless it is not in the interests of justice to do so. Is it inappropriate to fix a non-parole period? Would fixing a non-parole period be contrary to the interests of justice? As mentioned above, this is the main dispute that I have to determine. Sentencing case law establishes that, as a general rule, harsher than normal conditions of imprisonment will warrant mitigation of penalty. There is nothing about your conduct whilst in custody which might cast doubt on the application of that general rule. As Ms Hosking indicated, you are in a management unit to protect you from other prisoners, not vice versa, nor do you have any relevant criminal history. In their written submissions, the prosecution conceded that your conditions of imprisonment are more burdensome than for a mainstream prisoner, and that they are likely to remain so for the foreseeable future. The prosecution submitted that this is a, quote, relevant consideration for sentence. In oral submissions, the prosecution conceded that this consideration was not just relevant, but, quote, important and, quote, weighty, while still pressing for life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. You have effectively been held in continuous solitary confinement for the last 15 months, and at the very least, there is a substantial chance that for your protection, you will continue to be held in solitary confinement for years to come. The Court of Appeal in Yat against the King referred without criticism to the observation that, quote, the adverse health effects of solitary confinement are well established. I note too that Ms Hosking stated at the plea hearing that, quote, being separated has negative outcomes for people. We're very aware of that. The harsh prison conditions that you have experienced already and the likely prospect of solitary confinement for the foreseeable future are important and weighty considerations which should count for something in the sentencing exercise. In my view, the only scope for making them count is by the fixing of a non-parole period. In opposing the imposition of a non-parole period, the prosecution relied on the Queen against Colston, where the offender was sentenced to life imprisonment without a non-parole period for the savage murders of 3 people. But that case makes clear that, quote, where there is a substantial factor pointing towards clemency, as I consider your present and likely future conditions of imprisonment to be, the fixing of a non-parole period may be appropriate even for an offender who has committed multiple murders. Fixing a non-parole period is not to undervalue the horrendous nature of your offending. Your total effective sentence will be life imprisonment, and the period during which you will be ineligible for parole will be a very substantial one. Please stand. For the attempted murder of Ian Wilkinson, I sentence you to 25 years imprisonment. For the murder of Heather Wilkinson, I sentence you to life imprisonment. For the murder of Gail Patterson, I sentence you to life imprisonment. For the murder of John Patterson, I sentence you to life imprisonment. All sentences are to be served concurrently. The total effective sentence is life imprisonment, and I fix a non-parole period of 33 years. I declare that you have served 676 days by way of pre-sentence detention. Finally, and by consent, I make the disposal order sought by the prosecution. Would you please remove Ms Patterson?
Isn't life 25 years in Aussie land? Yes, but she got an attempted murder as well. Hang on. It's 25 to life, right? So 25 years is the minimum. That seems like a lot in Australian. It is. I
You
mean,
said what, 33 months?
The judge is allowed to make them consecutive if he wants, right? But it's not likely. 25 for attempted murder, life for murder. Yeah, I mean, the judge can make it just 25, but the judge, you thought 25 was life, like the upper, like the top. 25 to life, right? So 25 is like the minimum. Like he can't like let her have like 10 years or anything like that. But 33, she did 3 murders and there's an attempted murder, so he can go higher than 25. Like at which point they begin to apply for parole, usually denied. Yeah, it's a high sentence for here, but that said, I mean, you need to be able to put people away for actual life at some point, right? Like there needs to come a point where there is an actual non-parole. So, for example, like Martin Bryant, like the dude who shot up 35 people in Tasmania, and the reason that our guns were taken away, he ain't ever seen the light of day, right? So he can't get 25 years or 33 years or whatever it is, and then be looking at parole. That dude's never getting parole. So there are some cases where there really is the possibility of consecutive life sentences, or 25 plus 25 plus 25. The Tasmanian devil, yeah. I'm behind, but didn't she try to poison someone in prison? No, that was a rumor. That was never. It was just made up. It was crap. She's not been she's not been allowed to go into the kitchen. She's in the Gordon unit, so that's you just heard what the if you're behind, you might not have heard it, classic, but you've heard what the conditions are that she's in. She hasn't got a prison job or anything like that. She's almost in her cell 24/7. Yeah. Google tells me duration of life sentence in Australia, in New South Wales, Victoria. These periods are 25 years. Tasmania has said it at 20 years, and Queensland at 15 years. Queensland's the shortest. Yeah. Yeah. But you can exceed it if they're like a particularly
Aggravating.
What he said. Yeah, what he said. Aggravating, heinous, whatever. Yeah. She's stuck like Chuck. So she'll be 83 when she can apply for parole. Just swap over to this for a second and have a little bit of a look at what Ian Wilkinson said afterwards.
Patterson, forever the country housewife who killed and then tried to puppeteer a defence of accidental tragedy. This morning's sentence, a TikToker's sideshow.
I sentence you to 25 years in prison.
But Erin never scripted for the unwitting participant, the sole survivor with behind-the-scenes insight.
Firstly, to Victoria Police, in particular, the homicide squad. They brought to light the truth of what happened with the death of 3 good people.
Ian Wilkinson again gracefully rising above an unrepentant villain.
We're also grateful for the staff of the various public health services that played an important role in dealing with the aftermath of the lunch.
Those with front row seats say Erin's final courtroom act was one devoid of theatre.
She sat there twiddling her thumbs, and it's surreal. It's like
True crime enthusiast. Yeah.
from the whole thing.
Looking at a narcissistic psychopath.
Narcissist.
No empathy,
Oh, God.
no remorse. It's all about the offender.
But in Korumburra, a community saddled by an awful cross to bear.
it's not just the two local families, it's a community as a whole, because they're all grieving, the people in their church, the people who know them socially up the street. So the one thing it has done is probably brought Leongatha and Caringbara closer together.
Legal experts say they've been in unprecedented demand for analysis on a case creating headlines akin to some of Australia's most infamous, like child killer Robert Farquharson and rapist and murderer Adrian Bailey.
Is that Turtle Boy?
A case that I've been asked more about than this one.
And for dedicated court watchers, they held the tickets to the biggest legal show on earth.
It's kind of weird. You can feel up the whole pent-up energy before going in, just with the crowd, and then
sexual frustration.
And then once it started, it was like you could hear a pin drop.
The mushroom murders will now go down in global infamy, much to the frustration of her victims. So too will Erin Patterson.
The mystery of what was going on in her head is something I don't think we'll ever quite understand.
What's going on top of your head, buddy?
I think it's driven the interest and the fascination in the case.
This morning's sentence drawing the curtain on Erin Patterson's horror show. Laura Turner, 7 News.
Oh, come on, she's not that bad.
Geordie Wright is at the scene of the crime, Patterson's Leongatha home. Geordie, this brings to an end a dark chapter for the local community.
Mitch, it's been a long 2 years of grief and uncertainty for the Caringbara community, but many say today marks the first day of healing, especially for the congregation of the local Baptist church. Don and Gail Patterson and Heather Wilkinson.
That must have been an awkward first sermon back.
It's also where sole survivor Ian Wilkinson is the pastor. This morning, a small group of parishioners held a brief prayer service behind closed doors before watching the live stream. Shortly after Justice Beale handed down the life sentence to Erin Patterson, a statement was released. In part, it reads, "Justice is very important. However, it does not bring back our much-loved Heather, Don and Gail. We now only have memories and echoes of their wisdom, compassion and humour. We look forward to being reunited with them in the future. It is time for people and communities to be given the peace and space to move forward." As for Patterson's $1 million home here in Leongatha, it's currently under a court order, meaning if it's put on the market, she won't see a cent. The Supreme Court ruling any money from the sale could be given to the victims' families as compensation, Mitch.
That's $1 million.
Geordie Rice at Leongatha. Thank you.
I don't love that. But here's why, right? She has 2 children.
Yeah.
Shouldn't the money go to the 2 children? Like her 2 children have not only lost their mom and their grandparents and their grand auntie and uncle, right? But they've also lost all of their inheritance from the mum. Yeah. So that's her last asset because she sold everything else for her defense. That's their home. That is their house. That's where they grew up. So why does the state or the Crown get to take possession of that asset and give it to the victims, which I hope the victims would just give it to the sons, right? Luckily, the victims are the dad and the granddad of the sons. If they were strangers,
they could go to college or go to culinary school. There's a lot they could do in
culinary
the future.
school. Yeah.
You got it.
It's just imagine but the whole concept of them taking that last asset and giving it to the victims. Imagine if the victims weren't related to the sons; they were just strangers.
Government does it all the time.
They do it, yeah. I mean, it happens, right?
They did it.
But yeah, I feel like exactly. I feel like the sons deserve that house. Like it's theirs. It's their home. Yeah. The victims' families are the kids, really, unless cousins want in on it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the kids are just as much victims as anybody else.
Yeah.
They've lost their mum as well.
Yeah.
And they've lost their grandparents. It's just fucked. Like, just whoever ends up like the executor of the estate, because she can't be in control of the estate, obviously. They should give it to the sons. I feel so bad for her children. Like, imagine being in the middle of all this. They should give sentences like that over here instead of a slap on the wrist. Where are you at, Tracy? You mustn't be in America, because imagine. Okay, I just wanted to ask everybody before we finish up, right? Can you imagine 33 years for a triple murder and an attempted murder in the US?
Yeah.
No, like it would be life without parole all day or the death penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, Tracy's in the
It'd
UK.
probably be the death penalty.
If it was a death penalty state, it would be all the death penalty all day, and it would be life without parole, just not even a question, like no question. Like there would be like the idea of there being parole at 33 years while the person's still alive, it would just be nonsensical.
Yeah.
Like no, that's a life without parole here, no doubt. Yeah, no question. Yeah, hell nah. And the idea of the sentences being concurrent. Yeah, right. Susan Smith should have been released this year on parole for that conviction. Which one's Susan Smith?
That's who I think it is.
Is Matt just being naughty?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, he's being an asshole, but
He's being naughty.
that's funny. Though.
I really shouldn't bring up Mav's posts. I mean, the dad is a victim by losing his parents, so at least he can direct it to the children. Yeah, I mean, it's an odd case online in that the victim would be able to give the proceeds to the children, but the precedent is that the Crown takes the money, gives it to the victims, and the victims could be strangers, right? Like, if you're going to take that and make that the case law, then the victims could be anybody, and therefore the children have no right to that at all. I believe in Australia, I think if you murder either 2 or 3 people at one time, it's considered a mass murder. 3 is a mass murder. Which is that not the same in the US? So, like, Brian Koberger is considered a mass murderer.
I think 3 or more is considered a mass murder.
Yeah. And people wrongly say he's a serial killer because serial killers are actually people who do the same thing over and over on different occasions.
Serial killers is killing 3 people, but at separate times.
Separate, yeah.
So it's not just like 3.
Yeah, and doing it in the same sort of fashion.
Yeah. So if BK had done it 2 other times, then yeah, that would be considered a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 4 is mass in the US.
4.
Okay, so 3 is not mass in the US. You had a one up.
That's a good weekend.
Yeah, spree. Mass shooter is 2+. Yeah. Where in the US? Yeah, we don't even have shootings here. Not kidding. The last mass shooting, and I think shootings here, mass shootings have to be 3+. And the last one was Port Arthur, and that was in 1996. 1996, guys. Yeah. Yes, guns don't kill people.
Unless it's a
Anyway.
P320.
Yeah, that's the number for statistics, yeah. Someone commented it was hyperbolic to call her a mass murderer. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think that it's a little bit much. It sounds a little bit much, mass murderer, but just mainly because it's like the idea of poisoning people at a lunch doesn't really feel like a mass murder. But I mean, I guess
Yeah.
like technically it is. I thought more the whole she's a violent criminal sounded a bit hyperbolic because there wasn't really violence involved. Well, there wasn't violence involved. Like, how violent is eating a yummy beef Wellington? Yeah. Different agencies had different definitions. Yeah. I had it out with a friend that the US needs to be like New Zealand on guns, where it's possible.
no.
We're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. Different cultures. But yeah. Oh, my heart goes out to all the people affected by gun violence. And especially at the moment. Hella, meat is murder, aka beef Wellington equals violent. Yeah. I tell you what though, that beef Wellington looks yummy. It's possible to amend the Constitution. I wish them luck with the process. Yeah, good luck. Well, it is called an amendment.
Yeah, it's theoretically possible, but
I overhear people say that. It's like, well, it's called an amendment, so why don't they just amend it?
yeah,
It's like,
it's not.
oh gosh,
kind of designed so it's not that easy.
You really don't know any Americans, do you? Ah, dear. I love you all. All right, time to finish up. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And I'll see you not tomorrow, probably the day after. And I don't know what about yet. I'm sort of lost in the middle of, do I want to comment on the whole things that are happening over there, or do I want to move on to another case, or what do I want to do? Don't really know. Or maybe Desi will turn up.
Can only hope.
Who knows? But yeah, have a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. And it's time for the song.
Her name was Helen. She was an Aussie. She was a fake lawyer from the future. She got on YouTube and made some live streams. The co-host is Dolly and she dances sometimes. Words are always so loud and because she's a native.
Here, I'm gonna post a link. Assholes React in 20 with Sean.
Her cat is staring from when he goes missing.